Hello and welcome to the Isurus Drum Video Blog episode 3. In this video I'm going to do a full and in-depth review of my Jobeky electronic drum kit. I'm going to look at the build quality, sensitivity, the triggering system and the general performance of the kit. I'm also going to play the kit through Superior Drummer 2 later on in the video. First thing I'm going to do is have a look at the snare. So this is my Jobeky snare drum. This is a 13 by 5 inch drum in a Babinga fade wrap, and I've actually made some slight changes to this drum since I got it from Jobeky. I've taken off the rubber shield that goes around the rim, and I did that because I wore through it basically until I was playing on the rim of the drum. I actually tried upgrading it, but then I wore through the upgraded rubber strip as well, and so I just got rid of that altogether, and I actually really like playing just on the rim of the drum. Downside is that it's louder and it tears through my sticks. So the second thing that I changed was the drum head. And the reason I changed this was because the drum head that ships with the kit from Jobeky is actually very thin. It's a dual ply mesh head, but it's very thin. So what I found was that I'm quite a heavy hitter, and I started to stretch it, and I was having to tighten the rim more and more until I was right at the bottom of the ability to tighten the snare drum. So I got rid of that and I upgraded it to a Drum Tech Design Series mesh head, which I highly recommend. I've got that on this drum snare, 2 low toms, and on my kick drum, and then on my high toms I've got V Pro V drums heads, and this is very good and highly recommended. So what I'm going to do now is just go through a quick routine showing the sensitivity of the snare. Okay, so I think it's a pretty good snare. I think it's very sensitive and very accurate actually. I'm using it with a TD20 module from Roland, and if anyone wants to know my settings within the module, then email me. I'll put my email address below the video in the description. I should say actually that I use the same sound for the rim and for the center, and that's because when I started playing with this drum, and actually with Superior Drummer, I noticed that I couldn't get a natural sound out of the rim, and that's nothing to do with Jobeky. I had the same thing with V drums. I used to own a V drum kit, so I just find that with Superior Drummer, it's far better to have the same sound. It's almost impossible to get a natural rim sound working in Superior Drummer when you're playing live. So next up, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take off the drum head, and I'm going to show you the triggering system underneath. So this is the Drum Tech Design Series mesh head here. Underneath this there is the triggering system. The way that this works is that there's 2 piezo triggers. One is connected to the drum shell itself via this metal bracket here, and this one is used to trigger the rim sound of the drum. And then the second piezo trigger is actually underneath this thick piece of rubber. This is a piece of rubber here, and then there's foam underneath that as well, and it's sandwiched in between this rubber and foam. And then on top of that there's various different densities of foam stacked up, and this is the part that makes contact with the mesh head. All in all, I think this is very well put together, and fairly happy with it. I have had one problem with it. One of the wires that was connected to the rim piezo trigger here disconnected, and I had to resolder that. But other than that, it's very effective. It works incredibly well. So here's the kick drum. This is a 20 by 16 inch drum in Babinga fade wrap. In much the same way as the snare, I've had to make a few modifications to the drum. One of the first things that I did was put a small pad where the kick drum pedal meets the kick drum. And to show you the second modification that I've made, I'm going to have to take the back mesh head off. Now the mesh head is off, you can see a few different layers of foam. This here is just for deadening the mesh head. This here is where the actual kick drum beater hits, here. And this is where the piezo trigger is. I'm just going to take this out to show you this in more detail. This is a beanbag that I've just added in there. So you can see behind this pad here is the piezo trigger. This here is a metal bar that stretches across the drum and connects to the kick drum shell via metal brackets at the sides. This is a picture of where the plate that holds the trigger and the foam connects to the kick drum shell via a right angle bracket. When I got the Jobeky kit, this right angle bracket was very thin. After around 2 months of playing on the kit, I snapped that bracket. I then had to go out and buy a replacement which was much heavier duty, as well as some heavier duty screws, which I then screwed through the kick drum shell, as you can see in this photo here. I may have only needed to make these modifications due to the fact that I play incredibly hard on the drum. I also play a lot of double kick pedal with some fairly heavy beaters. In general though, this drum responds incredibly well, far better than the Roland KD120 that I had previously. I'm now going to show you a short video of me playing just to demonstrate the sensitivity of this drum. Okay, so in conclusion, although I have had to make some modifications to the Jobeky drum kit, I still think it's a really good set of electronic drum pads. The triggering response is excellent, and I really like the general feel of the kit. I have had some build quality issues, as I explained earlier, but other than those points already mentioned, I still think that the build quality is really very good. I also think the Babinga fade wrap is stunning, and will be very hard wearing over time. But I think that the main plus point for the Jobeky kit is the price. It cost me £1,020 including shipping within the UK. So when you consider that that would only buy you a Roland KD140 kick drum and Roland PD125 snare drum, it's easy to see that changing the drum heads and making some other slight modifications to the Jobeky drum kit is not a big problem. I think another big plus point for the Jobeky drum kit is the triggering system. It really triggers exceptionally well through Superior Drummer 2. Although I didn't mention it earlier, the kick drum is also a real joy to play, especially when compared with smaller electronic kick drums. Finally, I'd like to say that I'm in no way endorsed by Jobeky drums or any other drum manufacturer. So that's it for my review. Thanks for watching, and I'm now going to play the kit through Superior Drummer 2.